two federal judges' rulings. And last week, those two federal judges, one in Massachusetts and another in Rhode Island, ruled the Trump administration must use emergency funds to pay for food stamps as the government shutdown drags on. You're taking a look at Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who had previously said that the Trump administration would work to fund SNAP. It's not clear where this funding will come from, but the judges had given the Trump administration a Wednesday deadline to fund the food program. It's also not clear how much you're going to receive if you rely on SNAP, nor how quickly the money's going to show up on your SNAP debit card. The process of loading these SNAP cards involves steps from state and national agencies and vendors, and the process can take up to 2 weeks in some states. The average monthly benefit is usually about $190 per person. About 42 million Americans rely on SNAP to feed themselves and their families, or 1 in 8 Americans. This program costs the federal government about $8 billion a month to run. So, of course, we're going to keep you updated as this continues, what this funding is going to look like, this partial funding, what it'll pay for, and what that will entail. In the meantime, our Deidre Dukes has been out catching up with Senator Raphael Warnock, who's been calling on President Donald Trump to fund SNAP. So, Deidre, I know you were out this morning. What did the senator have to say? Please catch us up to speed. It's great to see you.
Great to see you, Ariel. Well, Senator Raphael Warnock in Atlanta Monday morning along Edgewood Avenue paused to talk to reporters, and he criticized the Trump administration and Republicans for this pause in SNAP funding, saying that they were in effect during this impasse pitting hungry people against sick people. As you mentioned, some 1.4 million, approximately 1.4 million Georgians rely on SNAP funding, and that funding as of this week has been paused, although as we just heard today, the Trump administration has announced that it will at least be partially funding that SNAP funding. But we did talk to Senator Warnock about the ongoing impasse there on Capitol Hill and what is and can be done to finally have both the Republicans and the Democrats come to the table and in this impasse that has been affecting federal workers, so many people affected in so many ways by this impasse. And here's what he had to say.
I hate government shutdowns. I hate to see federal workers furloughed. All of that is challenging stuff. But I'll tell you who was not in this fight. SNAP recipients. SNAP recipients were not in this fight. They were dragged into this fight by the administration. And so I want you to think about this. They are literally pitting sick people against hungry people. I can't think of anything more craven than that. And it shows that the politicians are centering themselves rather than the concerns of ordinary people. And so as a voice for Georgia, I'm going to continue to fight for health care. Because it's a matter of life and death. And I'm going to keep fighting for these SNAP recipients because food is a matter of life and death.
Now, just last night on 60 Minutes, President Trump was interviewed about several topics, including the impasse, and he did say that I'm not going to do it by being extorted by Democrats who have lost their way. But Republicans and Democrats who remain at an impasse, they have very differing opinions on what exactly should be done. President Trump on 60 Minutes said he will not give in to Democrats who repeatedly voted against reopening the government. Now, of course, Democrats want to extend COVID-era price supports for the Obamacare plan, but Republicans insist they won't discuss it until the government reopens. Senator Warnock also saying what's at stake right now is that some 1.2 million Georgians are going to open up that health care portal. They're going to find that their prices have doubled or tripled their premiums and that they simply cannot afford it. And so there's a lot at stake right now, Ariel, in regards to this ongoing government impasse, the shutdown.
Deidre, I'm curious. I know you were able to catch up with the senator this morning. And I understand that obviously this announcement that the Trump administration will partially fund SNAP came just less than 2 hours ago. Was the senator able to respond to that at all with you, or did you see him before that announcement?
We actually saw him before the announcement. I'd say that announcement came a few hours after we actually talked to the senator. So as far as a reaction to the news that there's going to be a releasing of some of these SNAP funds to fund SNAP, we hadn't received any reaction from him as of yet.
Good to know. Deidre, thank you so much for this update, keeping us informed. We appreciate it. Okay, guys, as Deidre was discussing where we are at with the government shutdown, I want to continue to keep you updated on where we are with that, because we know the Senate floor is going to open at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and voting is set to begin around 5:30. You're taking a live look at Capitol Hill, where senators will go on the floor again in just about less than an hour. I want to keep you updated as to where we are, because the government shutdown is heading into record territory this week. We know the longest federal government shutdown was 35 days, and right now we're around day 32. It's likely to become the longest on record, and there are a few signs of progress on Capitol Hill. Democrats are holding their ground, and so is President Trump and the Republicans. With food benefits expiring, as we've been discussing, a lot of food pantries are at their limit. But you just heard about a couple hours ago, the Trump administration says they will partially fund the SNAP benefits program. President Trump was on 60 Minutes last night, just like you heard our Deidre Dukes discussing, saying he won't give in to Democrats who have voted again and again against reopening the government. They want to extend COVID-era price supports for Obamacare plans, something many Republicans are open to doing, but not until the shutdown comes down, right? So not until the government reopens have Republicans said they're willing to do that. I want to keep you updated on a few other things here. President Trump has said that they only need 5 Democratic votes to reopen the government. He said that on his way back to Washington yesterday. And Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries have been digging in, saying that President Trump is spending more time on the golf course than talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill. That was their response. Republicans, of course, trading blame, right? So this is going back and forth. But ultimately, President Trump has renewed his call for Senate Republicans to get rid of the filibuster in order to reopen the government. And that's something Senate leaders say just is not going to happen. 14 times the Senate has tried to reopen the government. 14 times they voted, and 14 times that vote has failed. The Senate floor again opens at 3 o'clock this afternoon, voting to begin around 5:30. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson held a news conference on Capitol Hill around 10 o'clock this morning. I'd like to let you listen in now on what he has to say.
Good morning, everyone. We're on day 34 of the Democrat shutdown. Day 34. It's now officially the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaging in right now. And so we thought it would be useful to just this morning, in a very brief and concise manner, separate fact from fiction. So I'm just going to go through 4 false claims that you have heard over and over and over, and just explain once more what the simple truth is. Meredith, let me see the first slide here. Here's the first one. The obviously false claim of the Democrats is that Republicans have closed the government. I've heard them say this myself. You've all seen it in interviews. They're blaming the shutdown on the Republicans, and it is patently absurd. The next slide will show you the simple fact, the obvious fact that everyone can see. It is Republicans who have voted to open the government 14 times. Now, remember how this came about. Back in September 19th in the House, Republicans in the House voted to open the government, the clean continuing resolution to keep everything in operation. Every Democrat except one in the House voted to close the government. But we still passed it because we have the majority. And so we sent that bill over to the Senate. And 13 different occasions, 13 times, the Democrats have voted to close the government. Republicans voted yes every time to open it. Republicans in the Senate and the House voted to keep the lights on, to pay service members and our troops who are in harm's way, Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, all federal workers. They voted to ensure that women, infants, and children nutrition programs continue, and that SNAP benefits continue to go to the American families who are in need. But by contrast, the Democrats have voted no every single time. And what is outrageous to us is that they have gone onto the Senate floor. Senate Democrats, they have voted no. They have voted to close the government. And then they have gone out to the hall, to the nearest camera they can find, and they have looked into the lens and said, Republicans are shutting down the government. It makes no sense. It's the most extreme example of gaslighting in the history of American politics. And many in the media have allowed them to get away with that. It's shameful. Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government, and we could do that today. If they would pass that today, with 0 strings attached, everything would be flowing again and the government would work. Importantly, remember that we offered that CR in good faith. And why do we say that? Because it was offered after a bipartisan, bicameral negotiation between both chambers. Because you see, you had the appropriators, Republican and Democrat appropriators, who got together and decided they agreed on the need for a short-term CR.
Okay, and you're listening to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson as he was discussing some of the efforts Republicans have taken, he says, to reopen the government. We're going to continue to keep you updated on this because, as you know, it affects so many of you working and living right here in our community. One of the big things we're going to get to in just a little bit involve delays across the nation with our airports because of a shortage of air traffic controllers. In the meantime, I do want to keep you updated on a local story that we are following, and it involves a man who's facing 14 counts of child sexual exploitation. He had his first appearance before a judge this morning, and our Kevin Stewart was in the courtroom getting us up to speed. Kevin joins us live now. Kevin, it is great to see you. Tell me more about this man who is charged, why he's facing these charges. What happened in court today?
Yeah, this is tough to listen to, and I want to warn people up front. This gentleman's name is Osiris Hill, and he was picked up by the Douglas County Sheriff's deputies on Friday. And late this morning, was his first court appearance. He's trying to get a bond. He's charged, as you noted, with 14 counts of sexual exploitation of children for allegedly possessing child porn, pictures and videos of children being sexually abused, and at least one instance, a girl between 3 and 5 being sodomized by a woman. This all came from a cyber tip. Take a listen.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received a cyber tip from a Discord. Discord is an online service that has messaging and other properties to it. It provided them a phone number and user ID and IP addresses involving some child sex abuse material they uncovered. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children determined it would be out of Georgia. They reported the cyber tip to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Georgia Bureau of Investigations investigated enough to determine that they believed it to be occurring in Alicia Springs, Georgia, here in Douglas County, at which time that cyber tip was forwarded to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
All right, now Hill did get a bond, $98,000, $7,000 for each count. He is not allowed to be unsupervised with any children if he does get out, and he is not allowed to leave the state without court permission. Ariel?
Kevin, you said it very well, very difficult to listen to. One of the things I'm curious about, so the judge granted obviously a high price, but a bond for this man. Were there any people in the audience who were speaking up against that, either for or against? I know this is a first appearance, so this may not be something where community advocates come in, but I know they sometimes do appear in a courtroom. Did you see any of that today?
No, it did not. This was, well, at least from the sense of the prosecution, the DA's office did not want him to get a bond, but did acknowledge that he is this is his first time being arrested, so they factored that in, and that's why there were some stipulations that were made, and then some accommodations made if he did get bond, that obviously, for instance, that he can't be around children unaccompanied and cannot leave the state without permission. His family was there. His mother and his wife was there, and they sat by quietly in the courtroom and monitored all those developments.
Yeah, Kevin, also something that comes to my mind, just hearing about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, hearing the role that they played in something like this. I mean, they're involved in so many cases across the nation, and it's just another great highlight about how their work needs to be supported and just the pivotal role they can play in cases like this to make sure, you know, that these things, when they do happen, children can ultimately be protected.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we understand that the tip came through Discord. Apparently that was allegedly the platform that he was using, and that's why they were able to get this information and then pass it on to the GBI, which in then turn pass it on to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, who made the arrest on Friday.
Good thing for that tipster, absolutely. Kevin Stewart, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this information today. We appreciate you. Okay, guys, we're going to move on because I want to continue to keep you updated on some national stories we're following. Like I was discussing, air traffic control facilities are facing shortages of air traffic controllers nationwide. This is causing massive headaches at airports across the nation, and we saw that here at Atlanta over the weekend. For now, air traffic is back to normal at the Atlanta airport, but Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has a warning for Americans who are traveling by air. He says flights at airports across the country may continue to be delayed, canceled, altogether because of this ongoing government shutdown. Air traffic controllers at airports across the nation aren't showing up to work because they need to find other jobs with having missed a couple of paychecks by now. So there's a big shortage of them. And this transportation secretary says when controllers are doing two jobs instead of one, there's a really big increased safety risks for those who are flying. And he wants to make sure everyone who flies does so safely. The FAA says nearly half of all major traffic control facilities are now facing staffing shortages. Air traffic controllers are required to work without pay for the duration of the shutdown. They are essential employees, but the shutdown has gone on now for over a month with no end in sight. And so the transportation secretary was saying that he's not going to fire any of these controllers or penalize them for having to go out and get another job and having to make ends meet for their families. For Atlanta, we saw more than 200 delays and 7 cancellations over the weekend. An airport spokesperson told us there were no staffing shortages at the FAA tower here in Atlanta, but the ripple effects from other cities are what led to these delays right here in Atlanta. New York and New Jersey are two of the hardest affected FAA facilities, and they're struggling right now to maintain normal operations. So you're taking a live look at Hartsfield-Jackson, where a plane is just taking off. The FAA estimates that there are about 13,000 controllers working without pay, and before the shutdown, the agency was already short roughly 3,000 controllers nationwide. So you can imagine that the shutdown has not helped the situation. We're going to continue to keep you updated as to what's happening here at Atlanta's airport and airports across the country, because as we get into the busier holiday season, this will no doubt cause an impact. I do want to keep you updated on another major case, a major story here. The Supreme Court will hear arguments on President Trump's tariffs. So this is a big update because it could be a landmark economic case. It's going before the Supreme Court, and the central question here is whether to uphold or strike down President Trump's tariffs on foreign goods. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments. This is arguably the single most important economic case that's ever come before the justices. The question they're going to consider, again, did President Trump exceed his authority to impose import taxes on goods from nearly every country in the world without approval from Congress? So it's that congressional approval that's key here. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that these deals, these trade deficits that we've had for years, 20 or 30 years, were close to the breaking point, and the president didn't want us to get there. So that's what he used his emergency powers for. After the president enacted his sweeping reciprocal tariffs in April, several small businesses that were hit with these high import costs, along with 12 states, sued. Lower courts ruled in those businesses' favor, but the White House lawyers hope the justices reverse this decision, telling the court revoking President Trump's tariffs authority would have catastrophic consequences for our national security, foreign policy, and economy. If the High Court rules against Trump, the administration might have to refund the bulk of the $165 billion that they've collected in tariff revenues so far. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that they do have backup plans, and the president's trade team is working diligently on contingency plans should the Supreme Court not rule in their favor. The case is so critical to the president's agenda that President Trump may even show up to the arguments on Wednesday. Trump has said he thinks it's one of the most important decisions in the history of the Supreme Court, and so he may have an obligation to go to the court. The Supreme Court has expedited this case, and we expect a quick ruling in a matter of weeks, so we will absolutely keep you updated on that. Another big thing to get updated on, you guys, something to keep in mind is that tomorrow is Election Day here in the state of Georgia. You're going to get to vote on statewide races for 2 members of Georgia's Public Service Commission. You're also going to get to vote on county and city level elections like your mayors, maybe some city council members. We have you covered at fox5atlanta.com. You're taking a look at one of our voting guides. This one's for Fulton County, but we have guides for every county right here in our area. You can go on there. You can see as we're scrolling here a sample ballot so you know what is on the ballot in your county, who you have open to vote for, what that looks like. Again, you can find that voter guide and know what's on the ballot before you go just by visiting fox5atlanta.com. Well, thank you guys so much for streaming along here on our 2 o'clock hour. I'm Ariel Onstadt, and it's great to have you. Coming up, I want to get a check of your weather forecast. I'm also looking ahead here. I want to get you an update on what's happening with Hurricane Melissa relief efforts in the Caribbean. We're going to check in and see what's happening there when we come back. Welcome back in. I'm Ariel Onstadt. It's so good to see you here on our Monday afternoon. If you've walked outside today, you know you're in for a crisp fall day with clear blue skies, but Jonathan Stacy's going to take a look at how long that could stick around, whether there are any rain chances in the forecast, so let's listen.
Jonathan Stacy here. We're making our way through this Monday. Temperatures falling below average today. However, warmer days are to come, just not today. The numbers fall from the 60s into the 50s, 40s, and for some communities, you'll wake up tomorrow morning in the 30s. So there will be a definite chill in the air without the blanket of cloud cover like we had last night. Tomorrow morning, you'll find temperatures around 36 degrees in Blue Ridge, the same for Blairsville. Some frost likely developing in some areas, especially where the wind is not so prevalent. We're at 38 degrees to start the morning there in Dahlonega. Go out to the north and to the east, and you'll find temperatures that are below 40 degrees as well. Dallas starting out your Tuesday morning at 38 degrees. I think you'll stay right above or at 40 degrees as you make your way down to the south and to the east. Greenville, Noonan, and Franklin starting out your Tuesday morning at 41 degrees. The same for our friends as we got to Lake Country going out east along 20. You'll find temperatures around 41 from Madison to Greensboro. Average for this time of the year is 49 degrees or 48 degrees to kick off your November mornings, early November mornings. So it will be more like a December feel tomorrow morning. So jackets, long sleeves are definitely appropriate for the first part of the day. But by afternoon, we're going to turn the page. In fact, the average high for November 1st is almost 70 degrees. Well, we're going to outdo that by several degrees as we get deeper into the week. So today is a below average, but you can see here the numbers wander into the 70s as we get deeper into the week to come, and that's where they stay all week long, even going into the weekend. So a change is coming, and that change is going to be brought to us by two areas of high pressure that are going to team up, and they're going to pull in some moisture and some air out of the south. And with that southerly flow, that will enhance and aid and abet a really nice temperature warm up, and we'll look for temperatures to be some 7 to 8 to 12 degrees above average for this time of the year. So it will feel really good outside, especially during the afternoons. The mornings will still have a little bit of a bite to them because there's going to still be a chill in the air with clear skies at night. In terms of clouds coming back, likely by Friday, giving way to some showers. Those showers hitting as early as Friday, continuing that rain trend right on through the weekend. And then after the weekend, a cold front pulls through, so the rain chances are in the forecast. That's ahead of the front. Then behind the front, some cold air, and it takes over the entire eastern seaboard and the interior east coast. That said, it looks like the ire is going to really be felt along the southern Appalachians into North Georgia, where temperatures are going to be well below average. Let's take a sample of the numbers. The numbers that we're looking at in the forecast send us down into the 20s and the 30s by this time next week. 7 o'clock Monday morning, 29 degrees in Dalton, 32 in Kennesaw, 35 for Snellville, 36 in Jackson, 35 degrees here in metro Atlanta. Definitely a freezing effect as you go up north, and you'll find a string of 20s across the far northern tier. Even down south, you're going to come really close to temperatures that are near freezing. Peachtree City possibly dropping down to 33 degrees. So you have been warned well in advance to prepare for a very rare November chill. But after all, we have the here and now, and this week is going to give way to temperatures that are going to be cool to start, but fairly comfortable and above seasonable averages to end. Election day is a prime example of that. We'll start out in the 40s tomorrow morning, and we'll quickly climb through the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. We'll go. If you're going out, just have your sunshades with you, because the sun will be doing its thing, beaming and shining all day long. Here's a look at your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast here. Things are looking good and feeling good. By the time we get into the weekend, rain chances come to flirt with us, but it looks like behind the front there will be a big dropping off of the temperatures.
Well, that was our Jonathan Stacy giving us a check of the weather forecast, and I want to keep you updated on what to expect with Hurricane Melissa as relief efforts continue in the Caribbean. We know that at least 60 people are dead after this monster storm, and one of the things to keep in mind is that recovery efforts are intensifying to make sure that people get the help that they need. More rescue and relief teams armed with critical supplies keep trying to access isolated communities in some of the hardest hit regions like Western Jamaica. Over the weekend, members of a U.S. task force in the Los Angeles Fire Department arrived in Kingston, Jamaica. The trail of destruction is severe, as you can imagine. Many survivors are thankful to be alive, but are still in disbelief because, as you can imagine, their homes are gone, and some have lost everything. One of the things to keep in mind, some people have traveled miles to try to find basic items and check in on family members. Officials visiting disaster sites are focusing on restoring basic things like power and cell phone service, and police officers are trying to prevent panic. Views from the ground and sky, like you just saw, showed off the scope of the damage, and both in the storm-battered Jamaica and Cuba. The hurricanes disrupted fishing and farming communities in the region as well, and this is really key for many people's livelihoods. Volunteer efforts are continuing to help people get back on their feet, and Officials in the Caribbean are warning people about the rising risks now for waterborne diseases, mosquitoes, and food poisoning as they continue throughout this recovery process. So on fox5atlanta.com, of course, we have more about the recovery efforts and how you can help here in Jamaica and, of course, Cuba, and that's on our website. Well, guys, I want to continue to keep you updated on some local stories that we're following here in our newsroom, and one of them involves a pretty wild story. A mother who's facing DUI charges, at least, after driving the wrong way on Interstate 85. And the key here is she had a child unbuckled in the backseat of the car with her. Our Doug Evans has been reporting on this story today, and he joins us live. Doug, catch us up to speed here.
Yeah, this happened just after midnight, Ariel, Saturday morning. So it's just after midnight. A trooper gets a call over his radio that someone's driving down the wrong side of Interstate 85 in Coweta County. Let's show you who we're talking about. Her name is Nala Miller, and she's 25 years old. And the trooper said she was driving down the wrong side of Interstate 75, going southbound in the northbound lane. He said he pulls onto the highway, turns on his blue lights, tries to pull her over, right? Instead of pulling over, the trooper says she hit the gas. They got into a chase, going the wrong way on Interstate 85. And then he did the pit maneuver and spun her out and then took her into custody. That's when they discovered that she had an 8-year-old child in the car who was not buckled up. So, man, she is facing a load of charges here this afternoon. Let me kind of read off the list to you. DUI, endangering a child under 14 while DUI, safety restraint required for a child under 8, so the child wasn't wearing a seatbelt, driving on the wrong side of the roadway, failure to yield to an authorized emergency vehicle, driving in the emergency lane, they're loading her up at this point, no proof of insurance, fleeing and attempting to elude, which is a felony, also criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct is usually something that is tacked on to a case that usually after the chase comes to an end. So that leads me to believe that there was some encounter between this trooper and Nala Miller after the chase was over, that she was also charged with disorderly conduct. She's locked up here in the Coweta County Jail facing those very serious charges. Fortunately, no one was hurt out on the roadway. That's a terrible time for a driver to be going the wrong way on the interstate just after midnight, early Saturday morning. So that's the very latest from Coweta.
Doug, it could have been so much worse. I mean, doing a chase on the interstate of all places, going the wrong way, I can only imagine, and a child in the back seat. Definitely an interesting story. What are the next steps here? I probably have about a minute left with you, so I understand, and I think you were kind of talking about this a little bit, but she's facing a lot of charges, so of course her case is going to progress through the court system. Any idea on what we should see next with this?
Yeah, well, a few things. First of all, there's going to be an investigation by the State Patrol on this, further investigation that could lead to additional charges. She'll have to go to court. I'm sure she's looking for a bond, so she'll have to go to court for a bond as well. Likely, she'll get out on bond. She's got this little 8-year-old child as well, someone that she needs to take care of. The child was turned over to family members, and so that's going on. These are very, very serious charges. And not only that, and this is what always gets me, Ariel, with cases, is these people lose their car. Too, right? A pit maneuver at that kind of speed on the interstate is going to do some serious damage to your automobile if it is even drivable afterwards. So she's lost her car. Too.
Right.
And then if she's paying on her car, if she's still got a loan on her car, they don't care.
Yeah.
She's going to have to pay off that loan.
Yeah.
Right? you know, and then she's got to get insurance as well on another car if she's allowed to drive. So it's a nightmare.
Yeah, Doug, very interesting story. You know, I definitely hope the best for the child who's now in relatives' care, so that's good to know what's next there. Doug, thanks for joining us, being a part of the conversation, and letting us know what's happening with the story. We appreciate you. Okay, guys, we're going to move on here because coming up, we're going to get a check-in with Goodwill, actually, because with SNAP funding being up in the air, right, we know that President Donald Trump's administration says they will now partially fund SNAP, but with the funding up in the air, one of the critical parts of SNAP could be as well. It already is, and that deals with making sure that SNAP recipients have employment training. So we're going to speak with Goodwill because they're one of the largest providers of this kind of training here and get a check of what they're doing to help people during this uncertain time. That's coming up next. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks for streaming along with us here on your Monday afternoon. With the ongoing government shutdown, as we know, SNAP benefits have been disrupted, and a key part of that involves an employment and training program that's a part of SNAP. The Trump administration has just said they're going to partially fund SNAP, but of course, a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not this is going to be part of what's funded. Obviously, making sure people have food is the key focus here. So, in the meantime, Goodwill is stepping up to make sure that this program can continue for people who are seeking jobs. And Jenny Taylor, Vice President of Career Services at Goodwill, joins us live. And Jenny, it's so good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon to talk about this.
Thank you so much for having me, Ariel.
So, big question for those who may be familiar, what is the SNAP Employment and Training Program?
So SNAP Employment and Training is designed to help people who receive SNAP benefits and not temporary assistance to needy families to become self-sufficient. We offer job training and employment support to people who would like to work or are really interested in growing, because many of the people receiving SNAP are working, to get into a better job and career, those ABCs, the first job, better job, career, and also to meet their work requirements.
And it's so important, right, because it's making sure that people have the resources that they need to be able to help themselves through this. So with SNAP funding up in the air right now with the government shutdown, how are you guys trying to mitigate this?
So we were notified on October 29th by the state of Georgia from the Department of Human Services that we should cease and desist our SNAP Employment and Training Program. And we were very concerned about that because not only do folks have the need for that food to feed themselves and their families, but on November 1st, work requirements were expanding to include veterans, youth who aged out of foster care, people who are unhoused, parents with children between the ages of 15 and 18 who were previously exempt from the work requirement. And we were really concerned that they wouldn't have the opportunity to be in one of the major ways that they could help meet that work requirement to keep their SNAP benefit by participating in our program. So we decided to continue the programs and make them available both in our territory in North Georgia, but also statewide in some of those rural communities by funding those subcontractors that we have all across the state of Georgia.
Jenny, that's awesome because, you know, so many people in our community rely on SNAP, right? Not just here in the urban metropolitan areas, but also rurally. It's a lifeline for so many who are working but need that extra leg up to help feed their families. So where is this funding coming from? I understand that you guys are working to make sure that the program can continue. Where are you getting the money?
So the donors and shoppers who come to Goodwill are the very primary source of that. We also have some philanthropic support and people who give out of the kindness of their heart. They either round up at our register to support programs like this or are sending us dollars. And that is the generosity that allows us to be able to continue to offer these programs without the 50% reimbursement from the state.
I can only imagine, you know, first of all, wonderful that people are stepping up in this time of crisis. But I mean, I can only imagine, given that work requirements or that this, the work requirements were expanding and so many people who needed access to this didn't have it previously and were going to, and now they're kind of in this, you know, waiting period to figure out what's going to happen next. What's your message to people who are streaming along, listening to this, and they say, hey, I want to step up, I want to help you guys, I have the means to do so. What do you have to say to them?
Well, first, thank you. It is the generosity of our fellow neighbors who helps people in need at times like this and all throughout the year. They can go to goodwillng.org and give. They can come in and donate their gently used items at our donor doors, and someone will greet them and thank them and put that to good use so that people can find those treasures in the store. All of those proceeds go to help programs like this. So thank you for helping Georgians to move towards self-sufficiency through our mission to put people to work.
I think a big thing is that a lot of people who don't really understand SNAP, right? They think that people are getting benefits from the government, but they aren't working and they're just getting these free items, right? But nothing could be farther from the truth because you do have to work in order to receive SNAP benefits. So if someone's streaming along with us and they are in this waiting period, this limbo, trying to figure out what's next because their SNAP benefits have expired, what's your message to them and what would you say to let them know how you can help?
Well, first, we're here to help. We have employers standing ready at our job fairs who do on-the-spot hiring. We have job training programs to get you the skills you need in healthcare, IT, transportation, all those high-demand occupations on the governor's list that pay well and can help after less than a semester of full-time training that is paid work-based training. We can help you to get into a career that's going to help you and your family be successful. Stop by any of our 14 career centers in North Georgia or go to careerconnector.org, and we're here to help.
Jenny, that's awesome. Again, Goodwill of North Georgia, the largest SNAP employment and training provider and intermediary in the state, serving thousands of job seekers each year. And of course, like you just said, you partner with 6 additional providers to help make sure that people can get these services and get connected to jobs and employment opportunities. So, Jenny, thank you so much for joining us, letting us know how people can help or be helped. We appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Ariel.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Okay, guys, we're going to move on because a local nonprofit has launched a community fund in this time of uncertainty to make sure that people don't go hungry. Gooder, food distribution nonprofit, as you might be well familiar with here in the Atlanta area, has launched this community fund. They've been packing bags and making sure that they're able to help people with SNAP benefits going away. Our Chris Rosenthal is out there today, and Chris is joining us live. Chris, Chris, great to see you. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, Ariel. Yeah, so I'm at the community market here on Edgewood. This is a new market. It's been here since July, here to serve the community. And a lot of the customers here that come here are people on people that are using SNAP benefits or have been using SNAP benefits. So it's a very important grocery store for the community, little market. Let me just flip the camera around, just show you. It's got everything that any other market has. You've got frozen section. Fruits and vegetables, and it's been it's been very, very busy today, hopping today. But I'm joined here by this is Jasmine Crow Houston. She's the founder of Gooder. And first of all, tell me about the need for a market like this. You've been here only since July.
Yes, we opened in July. We have about 1,500 seniors that are walking distance to us. And before we opened, their grocery store walk was about a 36-minute walk. So it was extremely needed. This was a huge food desert. There was nowhere on this street that you could come and get fresh produce. We serve 200 families for free here every month, but we are open to the public, and we try and be one of the most affordable grocery stores in the city.
Now, of course, we're all talking SNAP now, tell me about you have a lot of customers that are on SNAP, don't you?
We have a ton of customers that are on SNAP. I would say maybe 50% of the people that come in are using SNAP at least.
And what are they saying now? What are they expressing now that there's a little bit of uncertainty?
I think that's you had the best word there, worried. I just think about Saturday, a guy came in, and when we checked them out, their receipt shows their EBT balance, and he looked at it and he was like, I'm gonna have to hold on to this, for I don't know how long. So I think a lot of people are just kind of worried. Of course, we serve a lot of families for free here at least once a month. We had a food drive at Ebenezer Baptist Church just on Sunday that was around the corner, so we know a lot of our customers were able to shop over there and get some free groceries. But a lot of worry, a lot of uncertainty, and honestly at the worst time possible with Thanksgiving coming right around the corner. A lot of people just think of Thanksgiving as a holiday, but also kids are out of school, and so parents are even more stressed to think, okay, what do I do? Some schools are out for a week, some schools out just for a couple of days.
And beyond having this market here that serves a food desert, you also have a community fund. Talk to me about that community fund.
We just launched the community fund last week. We're trying to get people to donate $10 at a time so we can provide a bag of food that will be enough to feed 4 people. It's been, we've been steadily growing it, and we're trying to get more food to families. We really think it's a difference between food, just giving families food, and giving families meals. So that's what we're focused on. Can we give someone a bag of breakfast that will last them for a week? Can we give someone a pasta dinner, a taco dinner that will be able to eat and feed their family for at least a night or maybe 2? So we're asking people to chip in, and families that are in need have the ability to request food as well. So we've created a request fund. As of this morning, I think we had around 1,500 families that were requesting for food, and that's families and seniors. So I don't even know where we are right now. It's probably higher because I think this is day 1 of real set-in. Saturday when it started was the first. This is the first week that it's going to be real.
1,500, that sounds like a lot. Does that say a lot to the need?
I think the biggest thing that everybody needs to know, the need was high before SNAP got cut off. We were already seeing people calling in need of food. It's been unprecedented for many, many months. So now SNAP is just going to exacerbate the issue. It's always been a need. Food is higher than it's ever been, 47% since 2020. So we are paying 47% now, higher than what we paid 5 years ago for groceries. People are not making 47% more, so the need is always high. And right now it's blowing my mind.
And if people want to donate, people want to help out, what can they do?
Please visit us online at gooder.co. Click on the foundation tab, and our donation link is right there, as well as if you're a family in need, you can fill out our request form. Our goal is to serve at least 1,500 families by Saturday, so we have a lot of work to do.
And, some people can't actually get, maybe not be able to get out to the store here to pick up a grab bag and pick up one of those meals. Talk to me about what options they have.
So we are delivering to the doors of seniors in Metro Atlanta, so we'll go as far as kind of like Douglasville, Lawrenceville area. I would kind of say as long as we can get there pending, not in traffic, within about 30 minutes, we'll deliver all throughout the Metro. And then we will be having several kind of distribution events where families can come and get a grab bag, not even at the store.
And Senator Warnock was here today. He came by and visited. What message did you get from him?
I got from Senator Warnock that, he's down to get us back and running. He's very concerned about health care, as I agree, because I think right now that's kind of back of mind because we're hearing so much about SNAP, but healthcare and our premiums and our costs are also on the line, and I think there's just so much to think about. But I did get a message of hope from him, and also just perseverance. Just keep going. I'm going to try and do more with his church, and that we're here for the people, and I hope that he knows that as a senator. There are people here in Georgia that have the heart for the community and are trying to do the right thing.
All right, Jasmine with Gooder, thank you very much for taking the time here. And yeah, this store, it's over here on Edgewood, and you can, of course, visit the Gooder site and donate. Just $10 can get a grab bag for a family of 4.
Chris, wonderful to know how we can help out. I love seeing this market from the inside on Edgewood, right in pretty much the heart of the city. So great location. Thanks so much for introducing us, letting us know what to expect. I know we're going to see you again, hopefully at 3 o'clock, and you're going to give us another overview. And she, like I said, or like you just said, she was letting us know $10, kind of any amount helps, but you don't have to donate a lot to make a difference. So, Chris Rosenthal, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, coming up, we're going to get a check of some national headlines that I want to keep you up to date on. Remember when President Trump said that he wanted the United States to begin testing nuclear weapons again? The White House is clarifying that, so we're going to get into it coming up. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along with me here on your Monday afternoon. I want to get to a heartbreaking story out of Hall County because our Tyler Fingert is following up on this one, and he's going to join us with an update on this and a similar story in our 3 o'clock hour. And what unites these stories is the tragic story of domestic violence. In Hall County, deputies say a 9-year-old little girl witnessed a man shoot and kill a woman inside of a home before turning the gun on himself. This happened Saturday afternoon on Bushnell Court. Deputies say the woman was shot multiple times and the man had a self-inflicted gunshot wound when they arrived. Deputies found the girl hiding in an upstairs bathroom closet and say she contacted a friend on FaceTime. That friend told her parents, who called 911, and that little girl is now staying with a relative. So we'll continue to keep you updated on this. But again, Tyler Fingert's going to join us with an update in a little bit. I also want to keep you updated on what the latest situation is with United States testing nuclear weapons. We've learned, of course, President Trump wants to restart nuclear testing after a 30-year pause, but the White House is now clarifying that. His energy secretary, President Trump's energy secretary, clarified this won't involve big explosions and mushroom clouds like we're used to seeing in movies and like you're seeing here on your screen. The president said several times last week he wants the Pentagon to test America's nuclear arsenal, but Energy Secretary Chris Wright says that this won't involve nuclear fallout, but rather non-critical explosions meant to test the systems involved with nuclear weapons. And what Chris Wright has said is that with science and our computation power, we can actually simulate incredibly accurately what could happen in a nuclear explosion. It's still not clear how this new testing is going to be different from the military's routine assessments of America's nuclear delivery systems like missiles and submarines, but the president told 60 Minutes on Sunday that it's a response to increased nuclear activity from Russia, including nuclear-powered missiles and torpedoes. And President Trump has said the reason he's saying testing is because Russia announced they're going to do a test, and North Korea is testing constantly. President Trump also claimed Russia and China are conducting secret nuclear tests, which both countries have denied. Russia responded by threatening its own detonations. China is urging the United States to abide by the nuclear test ban treaty. North Korea is the only country that has detonated a nuclear weapon in the 21st century. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that. In the meantime, the Pentagon is now preparing for a possible military action in Nigeria while continuing its buildup of warships, fighter jets, and drones off the coast of Venezuela. And this really comes down to two missions for the Pentagon: stopping alleged drug smugglers en route to the United States, that would be with Venezuela, and protecting persecuted Christians in Nigeria. President Trump is warning the U.S. may go into Nigeria guns a-blazing if the government does not take action. According to international human rights groups, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country since 2009. Across the ocean, the United States military destroyed another suspected drug smuggling boat on Saturday, killing 3 people on board. With multiple warships, F-35 fighter jets, and thousands of service members deployed in the Caribbean, CBS's 60 Minutes asked the president if he's preparing for military intervention. And despite previous reports, President Trump says he's not planning to strike inside of Venezuela, but he's keeping his next moves under wraps. There are reports Venezuela's president is reaching out to Moscow for military aid, while Nigeria's president is open to working with the United States to address its security problems. So we'll absolutely keep an eye on that for you guys. Another big story we're following, this time across the pond here, involves police really searching for a motive in a stabbing attack on a London-bound train. So this happened over this weekend when police say a man stabbed multiple passengers. Investigators are trying to figure out why he did this. British police charged a 32-year-old man with attempted murder. Nearly a dozen people were hurt, and the most serious, a member of the train crew who tried to stop the attackers. So we'll continue to keep you updated here. We know that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer was actually addressing this in Parliament just a little bit ago. So we'll continue to keep you updated here. But in the meantime, the news is going to continue at 3 o'clock. I'm Ariel Onstadt, and it's been so good to stream with you here on our Monday afternoon. We'll see you back here.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday edition of Fox Local here. I'm Tom Haynes, streaming with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. So glad you're with us on what is a beautiful start to our work week here in the Metro Atlanta area anyway, if this is where you're watching us from. We're so glad you're with us, not only on Fox Local, but if you're streaming on YouTube or listening to us on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM, we're certainly glad you are here. We are watching live developments happening right now in D.C. This is a live look at the Senate floor, where just over an hour ago we got a bit of breaking news that the Trump administration says that SNAP benefits, what we've all been talking about for the past 4 days, are going to be partially funded. This coming after two judges ruled last week that the administration must use its emergency authority to fund those food stamp programs as the government shutdown drags on. Again, these are live pictures. The Senate chaplain there opening proceedings there, as they always do, with a prayer. It is not clear at this moment where this funding situation is going to go from here. The judge gave the administration a Wednesday deadline, so 2 days from now, to fund the food program, but it looks like it's going to happen before that anyway, at least partial funding for SNAP, as senators work once again to try to hammer out a deal. Not clear how much recipients are going to get with this partial funding, if they rely on SNAP, or how quickly the money is going to get to them, how quickly it's going to show up on their benefits card. But we're working to sort out all of that information. And of course, when we learn more, we will bring it to you, in addition to the proceedings on the Senate floor right now with efforts to reopen the government. One local food pantry is working to support SNAP recipients while the government funding issues are worked out. Our Kim Leffler is at Solidarity Sandy Springs, a food pantry that is stepping up its efforts to make sure no one goes hungry. Kim?
Well, Tom, we've actually made our way to the Midtown Assistance Center. So many food pantries across the metro are doing what they can to help people in need. And as you can see, the center here is well stocked. We're told that they actually had triple the amount of demand from August due to the government shutdown and people that rely on SNAP unsure when they're going to be getting their next paycheck. Now, as you mentioned earlier today, we were up at Solidarity Sandy Springs, also restocking their shelves as people are going to be heading in to pick up supplies later on this week. Now, the food pantry there sent out an email asking for donations on Friday ahead of the November 1st date when SNAP benefits were running out, and they say in just 2 days they received so many both physical and financial donations. We did see them restocking the shelves. They say they actually were able to go out and buy those supplies with the financial donations that they received. The food pantry that food pantry in Sandy Springs is for anyone living or working in Sandy Springs. They can come in, no questions asked, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning and get the food that they need. Now, take a listen to both locations, some people we talked to at both locations, about the support that they've been getting from the community.
The majority of our funds come from corporations, come from family foundations, and come from individual donors. And it's overwhelming to see when we put an email out from everybody saying, you know, our shoppers are in need. It's overwhelming how many people have come through for us, and that's just in 2 days.
We've had such great response. Neighbors who've come together in North Crest neighborhood did a Halloween food drive for us and delivered it today. There's a 7th grade class in Decatur who the students got together and realized what could they do, and they're collecting cans that they're going to donate tomorrow. So everybody can make a difference. Everybody can play a part in creating a safety net when our government is not doing that right now.
Yeah, and both locations are still continuing to accept donations as the government shutdown continues. We're told they already were in need before the shutdown began because a lot of people were struggling with food prices being so high. So they certainly hope this outpouring that they've seen here over the last several days and weeks will continue in the weeks to come. Tom?
They're going to dwindle quickly, Kim, with people depending on these benefits and these resources that these local charities are going to provide. Did they talk about sourcing of these kinds of foods and things that they can get out to the community, and when that sourcing might run out?
They said in just a matter of days, in previous instances, they've had the need for more donations and the food going out almost as quickly as it came in. So it's certainly going to be an ongoing need, not just at the location where we are, but at all these food pantries working so hard across the metro.
Yeah, and we certainly applaud that work. Kim Leffler, live for us. Kim, thanks for the latest. Getting you back to D.C., lawmakers are speaking this afternoon on the status of the government shutdown, headed into unprecedented territory this week, likely to become the longest on record. And there are few signs that progress is being made on Capitol Hill. There will be another vote in the United States Senate today. Democrats holding their ground. So is the president. And with federal food benefits expiring, some pantries, as we heard from Kim Leffler there, are at their limits. President Trump on 60 Minutes last night saying that he won't give in to Democrats who voted again and again to keep the government closed. They want to extend COVID-era price supports for Obamacare, something many Republicans are open to doing, open to negotiating. But they're saying, let's open the government first and then let's negotiate. OK, let's get people their SNAP benefits. Let's get the air traffic control system back open. Let's get the flight delays under control and then start negotiating terms of extending Obamacare subsidies. To give it some context for you, 14 times the Senate has tried to vote to reopen the government, and 14 times they have failed. The Senate floor is now officially open. We saw the chaplain administering the prayer. Voting is going to begin today at 5:30. We will be watching that. Listen to what Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, had to say a little bit earlier this morning.
Good morning, everyone. We're on day 34 of the Democrat shutdown. Day 34. It's now officially the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaging in right now. And so we thought it would be useful to just this morning, in a very brief and concise manner, separate fact from fiction. So I'm just going to go through 4 false claims that you have heard over and over and over, and just explain once more what the simple truth is. Meredith, let me see the first slide here. Here's the first one. The obviously false claim of the Democrats is that Republicans have closed the government. I've heard them say this myself. You've all seen it in interviews. They're blaming the shutdown on the Republicans, and it is patently absurd. The next slide will show you the simple fact, the obvious fact that everyone can see. It is Republicans who have voted to open the government 14 times. Now, remember how this came about. Back in September 19th in the House, Republicans in the House voted to open the government, the clean continuing resolution to keep everything in operation. Every Democrat except one in the House voted to close the government. But we still passed it because we have the majority. And so we sent that bill over to the Senate. And 13 different occasions, 13 times, the Democrats have voted to close the government. Republicans voted yes every time to open it. Republicans in the Senate and the House voted to keep the lights on, to pay service members and our troops who are in harm's way. Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, all federal workers. They voted to ensure that women, infants, and children nutrition programs continue and that SNAP benefits continue to go to the American families who are in need. But by contrast, the Democrats have voted no every single time. And what is outrageous to us is that they have gone onto the Senate floor. Senate Democrats, they have voted no. They have voted to close the government. And then they have gone out to the hall, to the nearest camera they can find, and they have looked into the lens and said, Republicans are shutting down the government. It makes no sense. It's the most extreme example of gaslighting in the history of American politics. And many in the media have allowed them to get away with that. It's shameful. Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government, and we could do that today. If they would pass that today, with 0 strings attached, everything would be flowing again and the government would work.
All right, that's House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking just a short time ago about the status of negotiations to get this government shutdown concluded. Not sounding very optimistic if you're to listen to the words of the House Speaker in terms of the he said, they said this, we're saying that. It's all going to come down to making a deal. And I have a feeling that this deal is going to happen behind closed doors. We're going to learn about it coming out of nowhere. And from what I've been listening to, the analysis over the past 24 hours, that a deal could be in the offing soon. There's a lot of backroom negotiations happening in the United States Senate right now between the Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the president, and the majority there. So whether this advances before Election Day tomorrow, where there are a lot of critical seats up for grabs in terms of governor's races at the local level, we're certainly watching what's happening in New York City. Whether the government reopens before those things happen tomorrow on Election Day, well, we don't know. But we're certainly keeping on top of it for you. We have all the live pictures up out of Washington, D.C., and we have our sources there working to get us information. So when we know it, you, of course, will know it. Let's turn to a local story now, a couple of them, which have domestic abuse in the spotlight. We now know the identity of a Gwinnett County woman who was shot to death right at her workplace on Friday. This is we're learning who police say pulled the trigger in that, and how the two are related. Fox 5's Tyler Finger live with more. Tyler, you're also following another case that again has domestic violence squarely in the spotlight.
Yeah, Tom, good afternoon to you. Today I spoke to a domestic violence organization here in Metro Atlanta who says that these domestic violence cases are just incredibly heartbreaking, especially when it involves a death. And they're saying that they're actually seeing an increase in the number of domestic violence cases reported. Let's show you some pictures of the victim from Friday in Gwinnett County. This is 21-year-old Alasia Whitley. She was killed, according to Gwinnett County Police, outside her job on Pleasant Hill Road Friday afternoon. Investigators say the man accused of killing her was 23-year-old Caprice Hudson, her ex-boyfriend. Gwinnett investigators said Hudson took off after the shooting and was located in Columbia County, just outside Augusta. Deputies there tried to arrest him, which led to a police chase. They say Hudson then shot and killed himself. And that then on Saturday in Hall County, there was another possible domestic violence case that turned deadly. Investigators say a Gainesville woman was killed at a man's Flowery Branch home before he took his own life. They say a 9-year-old girl witnessed the shooting, then FaceTimed a friend for help. That friend's parents then called 911. Today I spoke to Barbara Gibson, who is with the Metro Atlanta organization Women's Resource Center to End Domestic Violence. She says they're seeing an uptick in DV cases and their level of intensity. According to her group, in 2024, Georgia reported more than 42,000 incidents of family violence, and 170 people were killed in domestic violence homicides. Take a listen to what she told me earlier this afternoon.
It's really heartbreaking when people resort to violence and cut lives short. It's not just the life that's lost. It's the community connection that you had. It's the relationship you had to your children. It's the dreams that you had. All of that is lost. This violence is preventable. It's preventable. And the fact that it continues is just really devastating to recognize.
And advocates say if you are in danger, there are people who can help. Gibson says that they have a crisis center which people can call to be connected with people who can help them with a lot of different resources. I want to be able to tell you that number just in case you either are or know someone who might be dealing with domestic violence. That crisis center number is 404-688-9436. We're, of course, going to put that number on our website, fox5atlanta.com, and our Fox Local app. And Tom, obviously, these types of cases are just incredibly traumatic, and we know it can also be incredibly difficult for domestic violence victims to be able to get away from possible attackers. And so it just got heartbreaking all around.
Tyler, you know, heartbreaking details. Your audio's a little tough. We're hearing the ambient sound more than we're hearing from you. So I'm going to let you wrap up here, but devastating details of both those cases and a reminder of the importance of addressing domestic violence situations before they get out of control. Tyler Fingert, live for us in downtown Atlanta. Tyler, thanks. I want to take you live to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport right now, where things are seeming to get back to normal. I saw on social media a couple of days ago where the line was out the terminal and onto the sidewalk where you drop people off. Okay, that's how bad the lines were to get through TSA. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy speaking with a warning for Americans. He says that flights at airports across the country may continue to be delayed or even canceled altogether due to the ongoing government shutdown. Looks like, if you're to look at this picture, things are moving pretty good at Hartsfield-Jackson. But the Transportation Secretary says that when controllers are doing two jobs instead of one, there's an increased safety risk. The FAA saying nearly half of all major air traffic control facilities are now facing staffing shortages, and that air traffic controllers are required to work without pay for the duration of the shutdown, which has gone on now for a month with no end in sight, as we just mentioned. A landmark case is going before the United States Supreme Court here in the middle of the week, and that is whether to uphold or strike down President Trump's tariff control on foreign goods. This is a Supreme Court case that a lot of people are going to be watching on Wednesday, when they're going to hear arguments in what is arguably the single most important economic case that's ever come before the justices. The president saying that he might show up at the Supreme Court and actually watch these proceedings himself. Can you imagine if that happened? I think that would be a historic first. The questions they're going to consider: did the president exceed his authority to impose or import taxes on goods from nearly every country in the world without approval from Congress? After the president enacted his sweeping reciprocal tariffs back in April, several small businesses were hit with high import costs, along with 12 states who sued, so lower courts ruled in the businesses' favor. So now that's made its way all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, and that will be precedent-setting decisions from the justices. Well, tomorrow is Election Day here in Georgia. You're going to get to vote on a statewide race. Everything from a couple of members of Georgia's Public Service Commission to local races on the county and city level, like mayors and council members. We got our own mayoral race going on here tomorrow, which is largely uncontested, and it looks like Andre Dickens is sailing to being reelected. But we've got you covered on all of these stories on our website, fox5atlanta.com. You can find your county's voter guide and know what's on the ballot before you head to the polls, so that you won't waste time trying to read a lot of language that can be very, very confusing there at the polling station. When we come back, we've been hearing an awful lot about the government shutdown and how local food pantries and organizations are stepping up to help folks who are less fortunate and rely on government subsidies to feed themselves and their families. We're going to be joined here in studio with a guest who's working to do just that. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for streaming with us on this Monday afternoon. I'm Fox 5's Tom Haines, live with you here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom, joined by the executive director of the Sandwich Project, Christine Cooper-Nowicki, who's kind enough to join us here in the studio. Christine, welcome to you. You know, we've been talking about this unprecedented, almost historic government shutdown. In the early phases, we heard how it's affecting people like air traffic controllers, TSA workers who were going to go unpaid. They were the sort of the first in line of people who were going to suffer the consequences of this shutdown and those who needed help. Now we're talking about people who require government subsidies to feed themselves and their families, and that ran out over the weekend. We've been hearing news about how the administration might step up and partially fund that, but your organization, the Sandwich Project, is joining many others in our area to get food out to people. Tell us how you're doing that.
Yeah, so we have an amazing network of volunteers who are making sandwiches every single week. So these are individuals as well as groups. We have a host collection every single Wednesday, so families and groups are making sandwiches, and we are distributing them to over 70 plus charities over our time as an organization. And what's unique is we're able to get fresh food into people's hands. So we're just trying to fill in the gap in the way a lot of other organizations are. You know, we also collect fruit in bars, so we consider a full meal to be 2 sandwiches, fruit in bars, to make sure people have a healthy, nutritious meal. We've been doing this since 2020, so we started this in an emergency response, but the need has never gone down. So we're continuing to do that and meet in this emergency. We're activating our volunteer network. We have groups who are reaching out to us who want to make sandwiches, everything from Rotary Club to Scouts to corporations. So we have a lot of corporations who are really stepping up and helping us make sandwiches right now.
Yeah, tell us about the critical need that you guys face now that a lot more people are going to be needing assistance from organizations like yours.
Absolutely.
And getting, you know, whether it's grocery stores or restaurants or food suppliers to donate to an organization like yours?
Yeah, I mean, food insecurity in Atlanta is going to be extreme in these coming weeks, and it's honestly already started, and I think that's already been highlighted on. People have already been preparing for this. People have been scared, and so people have already been going to pantries. Pantries have already seen that. So it's going to take weeks and possibly even months to continue to respond to this emergency. So we're working with our networks and our recipients to get them more sandwiches. So we put out the call. We need thousands of more sandwiches right now. We need people to send us more fruit, more bars, more everything. People are sending Kroger orders to host homes houses. People are going to Costco. People are ordering off our Amazon wish list because we're trying to get as much food out to our recipients as possible right now because the need has just increased so much in the past couple of weeks.
So if I'm streaming right now, watching us on Fox Local or on YouTube, listening to the radio, tell people how they can get in touch with you. Tell people how they can either, I'm sure you take monetary donations too, but food, money, whatever, how can they help?
Yeah, so you can go to thesandwichproject.org and all the information is there on how you can donate as well as sign up for our newsletter if you want to make sandwiches weekly. You can follow us on our Instagram, The Sandwich Project ATL. We're putting out weekly requests of exactly what we need. We need sandwiches, we need food. Sign up for our newsletter on our website and that will get you a weekly newsletter saying, this is what we need this week, this is how you can do that. It'll give you the directions for making the sandwiches and where the closest host location is to you, so you don't have to travel far to be able to do this.
Tell us how cool it is. I mean, you were just elevated to the executive director of the Sandwich Project. You were telling me you were one of the casualties over at the CDC when they went through their mass layoff situation. But how touching is it to see the connection? In other words, you're now leading this big organization, but really you're making very personal connections with people and actually, like, you know, helping them eat at the end of the day. What is that feeling like? And tell us how sort of rewarding it is for an organization like yours to make that kind of difference.
It's hugely rewarding. I mean, I will be honest, it was really hard to lose my job at CDC. I loved the work I was doing and the people I worked with, but I was already volunteering with this organization, and so it just became an instantaneous place where I could plug in and start giving back to the community and use the skills that I had. And I felt very lucky to already have worked with the Sandwich Project for several years in a volunteer capacity, and so we just started working together over the summer, and when they offered me the position, I was very honored to become the first executive director. But you know, the goal is to just sustain this and continue to meet the needs, and it definitely gave me a purpose in a time when I felt like I had lost my purpose. I love what we do because we say your sandwiches are going to be in people's hands within 24 hours. Like, that's an amazing thing that's slightly different than, you know, giving food to a food bank. Like, we can tell you these are the organizations, these are the people who are going to be served on our Thursday morning or throughout the week. You know, if I do a group build, making sandwiches with a group, I can say, okay, we're taking your sandwiches to this place tomorrow morning, and that's exactly who's being served. And that's so amazing to be able to share with people how they're going to be able to impact their community. And we mean your community. Like, this is going directly into our community right now, directly to our neighbors. And so that's a big part of who we are, is like, let's serve our neighbors and let's take care of them and make sure that those experiencing food insecurity aren't going to go without food right now.
Yeah, I think it's humbling to, you know, reporting on a story like this. We know you guys are around all the time.
Yes.
You and many others. Yeah. But to see, you know, the call to action and how you guys step up in crisis type situations like this. You know, you work all the time, but it's moments like this where you come into the spotlight, and it's you and so many others who are really answering the call and helping our community so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Executive Director Christine Cooper-Nowicki with the Sandwich Project. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Want to take you outside once again for a live look at a developing story. This is a mission happening down in Haiti after the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa. What a disaster. Parts of Jamaica and Cuba and many other Caribbean islands are enduring right now. Melissa, one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes to make landfall in history. The storm resulting in dozens of deaths, including more than 24 in both Jamaica and Haiti. And so now the race is on to get, you know, food and supplies and other things down there. The infrastructure is horrible, as you can imagine, in the wake of what has happened. And so look at what was left behind. People don't have power. I ran into one lady over the weekend at a store who said she was from Jamaica, and she was telling me, gee, I've been watching your reporting on what happened down there. And I said, my goodness, have you been able to contact your family or your loved one? She said, no, I have not. And my heart just went out to her, because if you can't contact your family, what else do you have? You know, that's your family. They're the people that you love the most, and she can't even contact them. So the United States is already down there. They've dispatched the government shutdown, not affecting at all our response to the victims of Hurricane Melissa, because the U.S. is down there. And so it's going to be a real patchwork effort to get the lights back on, to get the communication system back up and running, and to get the food and relief supplies that those folks need. And that effort is fully underway right now. Shifting gears here, turning back locally, we've heard of the water boys. Our former reporter, now retired Morse Diggs, who you no doubt know, used to report on the water boys all the time. City Council took action against them. They're not supposed to be out there because it's dangerous not only for them, but it turns out it can be dangerous for people who are trying to help them too, trying to reach into their pockets and buy a bottle of water because they feel like it's the right thing to do. Let's get out to Angelique Proctor. Angelique, in some instances, these good-natured people are turning into victims. Tell us about the most recent incident.
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. That is exactly right. Morris Diggs did many of these stories, and we have done many through the years. And these are so heartbreaking because the victims in these cases who are, you know, they're trying to help. They're trying to give. They're trying to donate. They're trying to share what they have. And to be taken is just unimaginable and unthinkable for a lot of these people. So they end up being very, very despondent. Let me take you now to an Atlanta school teacher who tells us she was traveling on I-20, and we're in southwest Atlanta, westbound on I-20. She exited Lowry Boulevard, and when she got off, she saw a group of young men who were selling bottled water. She said she jumped at the chance to help out, immediately rolled down her window and handed the young man a $1 bill. Now, here's what happened.
I slowed down, rolled my window down, passed my dollar out. The young man gave me a bottle of water, and he said, well, ma'am, I can't take the cash. Do you have Cash App or Venmo? It's for my basketball team. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you can't take, this cash is guaranteed. He said, no, we have to keep an account of everything we get. Sounds legit. Okay, take out my phone. I put $1 in for Cash App. What's the Cash App, young man? Before he could speak, another gentleman approached the car, and let's say he politely grabbed the phone out of my hand and said, I got it, auntie, I'll put it in for you. And he's rummaging, and I'm looking, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And then I get a notification on my watch that the transaction had declined for $500.
You heard that right, $500. Teacher Jatan Robinson says her bank declined that amount because she didn't have it in her account.
Angelique,
So,
I think we have you. Yeah, I think we got you back.
Okay, so she was saying that she wants to spread the news and she wants other people to realize that this is still going on, because a lot of people probably thought we had the water boy fundraising scams behind us. But she says with the holiday season coming up, she wanted people to know that it's still going on. Take a listen.
My heart was hurting. I was really hurt in the fact that this could happen and that it's still happening, and you are using this to get funds from people. And it wasn't as if they were taking $20 or $25 or $50. You wanted everything. You were going to empty out someone's entire checking account.
And particularly $500 could make or break someone. That could be their rent money, their mortgage money, and so one never knows. We have talked to Atlanta police about this, DeKalb police, over the years. The first thing they tell us is do not roll down your window, do not engage with these young people, even though I'm sure a lot of times your heart weeps for them and you want to help. But their advice is keep that window up. And secondly, the one thing that they always tell us is never hand your cell phone to a stranger. And in this case, she said the second young man came up, he appeared older, grabbed the cell phone before she knew it. And I've heard many victims say that they're very quick to take those cell phones from you. And it's very important to see exactly what they're doing on your phone, because before you know it, you're out of hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Tom?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking on so many levels, Angelique. All she wanted to do was to, help out, and she got scammed instead. So good advice from city leaders that you're not to engage these people, because they not only rip people off, but then they disrupt the traffic patterns out there too. And so, but you don't see like a ton of police enforcement, or maybe you do when they're out there trying to collect money. I mean, they're just kind of out there.
That's a very good point, Tom. I have not seen much enforcement at all, and I do see groups of water boys still, so perhaps that is something we need to revisit with Atlanta police. I know that, as you said, the city tried to make it more constructive type programs and teach these young people entrepreneurial skills and get them going in the right direction, and so there's probably a lot of grace that's being extended, but when they start taking advantage of people and taking money out of their accounts, then it does get to be criminal.
Indeed, but hats off to Jatan Robinson, that victim who you interviewed, and you can sympathize with the fact that all she wanted to do was help those kids. Angelique Proctor, thanks. All right, when we come back, we're going to check on our weather. It has been kind of crummy outside over the weekend. We got another round of rain that kind of moved in yesterday, but as quickly as it moved in, it moved back out, yielding some beautiful sunshine outside, but chilly temperatures. So what is the rest of the work week going to have in store for us? Will it warm up a little bit? Jonathan Stacy is on deck with our forecast. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Covered a lot of ground, a lot of live events happening this afternoon as we speak. We were focused on the Senate floor not too long ago, voting on yet another attempt to reopen the government. It's going to happen at 5:30 this afternoon. We showed you live pictures here of the Senate floor as they got back into session not too long ago and began debate once again about reopening the government. You've seen the ricochet effect that this is having across the system. It began with workers not being able to collect their paychecks, people like air traffic controllers and TSA workers. Now it's impacting families directly because their SNAP cards, the government subsidy that many families rely so heavily on, are not being funded right now because the government is not operational. A couple of judges last week ruled that the federal government must step in to fund those once again. And we got news from the Trump administration earlier today that that funding, at least in part, is going to take place. Don't know how much money is going to hit those cards. Don't know when that might happen. So we're watching a lot of moving parts as it relates to the government shutdown. One of them is the collective effort among our local community food banks to feed people, to fill in the gap, if you will, between what the government is able to provide and what our local food banks can provide as well. One local Metro Atlanta area food bank is sounding the alarm about SNAP benefits running out and those who depend on the government subsidy. Second Helping Hands is one of them. Paul Clemens is the executive director. Paul, we've been talking to a lot of organizations like yours about, the Herculean effort to fill in that gap. Tell us what Second Helping Hands is doing right now to do that.
Yeah, so Second Helpings Atlanta, we are a logistics nonprofit that specializes in the rescue and redistribution of fresh, edible surplus food. So what does that mean? That means that we find food from places of business like grocery stores, caterers, restaurants, event venues, large distribution centers, even farmers from throughout Georgia. Any food that they can no longer sell or use or have extra of that is still, again, safe for human consumption, we capture that food and then we deliver it to a network of more than 120 nonprofit organizations who are on the front lines feeding people. And we do this work free of charge. We don't charge the business or the nonprofit recipient. And this is really important because in the United States every year, we throw away approximately 149 billion meals worth of completely edible surplus food. So if you could imagine on your way to work or school or wherever this morning, all the places of business that you pass that sell food in some form or capacity, they all have some form at one point in time or another edible surplus food that they could be donating to the local community. And that's what we do here at Second Helpings, and that's where we're making a call or having a call to action for all businesses who, again, store food, transport food, whether you're a cafeteria, transportation company, whatever, to please reach out to us at secondhelpingsatlanta.org and have a conversation with us if you're not currently donating that edible surplus food so that we can get you into our network and we can capture anything that you have. Because as you mentioned earlier, we don't know what's going to happen with SNAP benefits. We were already seeing a 30% increase in need across our entire network over the past several months. The government shutdown just made it even worse. And now we're layering on top of that SNAP, not to mention we're coming into a season, a holiday season. We're going to have kids out of school for holidays, families trying to put meals on their table for holiday season. So we need the business community to step up. If you have edible surplus food, to reach out and connect with us so that we can connect that good food to people in our community who need it.
Yeah, I mean, just Paul, listen to one comment from our YouTube channel. People watching us on YouTube, they watch us on so many channels, so many digital portals, right? Not only on Fox Local, but on YouTube. They listen to us on the radio, 107.9 FM, HD2. Listen to this lady. She says, my mom's 80. She's on SNAP. She was worried about how she was going to feed herself. She's retired. She's no longer able to work. You have no idea how this touches people. So we watch the news, we hear the bigger story, we get upset, but it's, if it doesn't impact us personally, we really don't actually know how this affects people until you dig in and you read stories like that. And having you on Second Helpings, as you said, as a distributor, And I'm a busy restaurant owner. I'm working. I'm trying to make my own profits and operational deadlines. Is it easy for me to contact an organization like yours to be able to say, hey, Paul, come over. I got some bread. That's great, but I'm not going to be able to use it. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so our goal is to make this as easy and as simple as possible for every business. So the only thing they need to do is visit our website at secondhelpingsatlanta.org. We've got a button now on the main page for new food donors. They can click on that and fill out their information, and then we'll be in contact with them very shortly to either arrange an immediate pickup of any surplus product they have, or to answer any questions that they may have. Some people may be curious if it's safe to donate edible surplus food. They may be uncertain as to whether or not safe or they have edible surplus food. We're here to answer those questions. Businesses are protected by law. They can donate that product and be safe from risk or liability. And on the flip side of that, if you're uncertain or you don't really know how to donate edible surplus food or not quite sure what that means, reach out and let's have a conversation around that. And to your point about the story from YouTube earlier, I just want to touch on that real quick. Hunger is silent. It lives in every single zip code. It touches every single demographic in our community. And I was at one of our partner agencies this morning, Community Action Center, and there was a woman standing in line, Tom, and her face said it all. She did not want to be there in that line. And I think that's so critically important for folks to remember. It's people just like us. It's your neighbors, your coworkers, your friends, your family. People aren't out there screaming, I'm on SNAP or I'm standing in a food pantry line. No one wants to admit that. And no one, Tom, wants to be standing in a food pantry line, and no one wants to be on SNAP.
Yeah, but it just, goes to sort of underscore and amplify the critical need of, so we've learned how this actually works. You're an aggregator of the product, and you blast it out to the organizations that then provide it to the people who need it. I was talking to the executive director of the Sandwich Project earlier, and I asked her, I said, you're at the top of the organization. You deal with a lot of logistics. What does it mean to you to actually touch somebody who needs something so desperately? And I'll ask you the same question. It's such a humbling feeling to know that our community here in Metro Atlanta area, North Georgia area, has so many organizations like yours who are there to step up at the most critical times.
Yeah, Tom, we live in an incredible community, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to be able to serve and give back to our local community. And I'm also humbled and inspired by the community that is currently stepping up to help take care of our neighbors that are in need. And I think that's the beauty, too, of Second Helpings Atlanta model. The bulk of our work, we're going to move about 4 million pounds of food this year. The majority of that, Tom, is going to be moved by volunteer drivers who are driving their personal vehicles in what we call food rescue routes. So we're empowering the community, people in the community, to help do this work, to help save perfectly good, safe, edible food and get it into the hands of other nonprofits who are out there feeding folks in our community. And there's nothing more beautiful, there's no better way, I think, in my mind, to give back to your local community.
Yeah, it's incredibly rewarding work and needed right now. Paul Clements, Executive Director of Second Helpings Atlanta. Paul, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
All right, let's turn to our weather now. We've been talking about it and the fact that the sunshine has come back out. We started the day off a little cloudy, and I was worried for a second. I'm like, are we going to have another cloudy day after the rainy one we had yesterday? But not so much. It's just chilly out there. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy tracking how the rest of this work week is going to unfold for us.
Jonathan Stacy here. We're making our way through this Monday. Temperatures falling below average today. However, warmer days are to come, just not today. The numbers fall from the 60s into the 50s, 40s, and for some communities, you'll wake up tomorrow morning in the 30s. So there will be a definite chill in the air without the blanket of cloud cover like we had last night. Tomorrow morning, you'll find temperatures around 36 degrees in Blue Ridge, the same for Blairsville. Some frost likely developing in some areas, especially where the wind is not so prevalent. We're at 38 degrees to start the morning there in Dahlonega. Go out to the north into the the east, and you'll find temperatures that are below 40 degrees as well. Dallas starting out your Tuesday morning at 38 degrees. I think you'll stay right above or at 40 degrees as you make your way down to the south and to the east. Greenville, Noonan, and Franklin starting out your Tuesday morning at 41 degrees. The same for our friends as we got to Lake Country going out east along 20. You'll find temperatures around 41 from Madison to Greensboro. Average for this time of the year is 49 degrees or 48 degrees to kick off your November mornings, early November mornings. So it will be more like a December feel tomorrow morning. So jackets, long sleeves are definitely appropriate for the first part of the day. But by afternoon, we're going to turn the page. In fact, the average high for November 1st is almost 70 degrees. Well, we're going to outdo that by several degrees as we get deeper into the week. So today is a below average, but you can see here the numbers wander into the 70s as we get deeper into the week to come, and that's where they stay all week long, even going into the weekend. So a change is coming, and that change is going to be brought to us by two areas of high pressure that are going to team up, and they're going to pull in some moisture and some air out of the south. And with that southerly flow, that will enhance and aid and abet a really nice temperature warm up, and we'll look for temperatures to be some 7 to 8 to 12 degrees above average for this time of the year. So it will feel really good outside, especially during the afternoons. The mornings will still have a little bit of a bite to them because there's going to still be a chill in the air with clear skies at night. In terms of clouds coming back, likely by Friday, giving way to some showers. Those showers hitting as early as Friday, continuing that rain trend right on through the weekend. And then after the weekend, a cold front pulls through, so the rain chances are in the forecast. That's ahead of the front. Then behind the front, some cold air, and it takes over the entire eastern seaboard and the interior east coast. That said, it looks like the ire is going to really be felt along the southern Appalachians into North Georgia, where temperatures are going to be well below average. Let's take a sample of the numbers. The numbers that we're looking at in the forecast send us down into the 20s and the 30s by this time next week. 7 o'clock Monday morning, 29 degrees in Dalton, 32 in Kennesaw, 35 for Snellville, 36 in Jackson, 35 degrees here in Metro Atlanta. Definitely a freezing effect as you go up north, and you'll find a string of 20s across the far northern tier. Even down south, you're going to come really close to temperatures that are near freezing. Peachtree City possibly dropping out to 33 degrees. So you have been warned well in advance to prepare for a very rare November chill. But after all, we have the here and now, and this week is going to give way to temperatures that are going to be cool to start, but fairly comfortable and above seasonable averages to end. Election Day is a prime example of that. We'll start out in the 40s tomorrow morning, and we'll quickly climb through the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. We'll go. If you're going out, just have your sunshades with you, because the sun will be doing its thing, beaming and shining all day long. Here's a look at your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast here. Things are looking good and feeling good. By the time we get into the weekend, rain chances come to flirt with us, but it looks like behind the front there will be a big dropping off of the temperatures.
Just love seeing all that sunshine on our 7-day forecast and the warmer temperatures as well. Looks like we're going to just keep getting better and warmer as this week goes on. Thanks, Jonathan, so much. When we come back here, going to check in with our Chris Rosenthal, who is at an event with a local company. You've heard of them, Gooder, okay? They're one of the organizations that are working to get food out to our communities, and they just announced a community fund so that they can pack and deliver food. We're going to check in with Chris live. He's in their Edgewood facility when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines, with you live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Want to take you out to the Edgewood community, where a local nonprofit, Gooder, is staging a huge collective organization to get food together to send out into communities as people struggle with SNAP benefit issues and funding as the government remains shut down. Our Chris Rosenthal is out there. This is a community fund they're announcing so that they can pack up and deliver these critical meals to people. Tell us, Chris, more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I am at the community market on Edgewood Avenue, and this is a market that's been here since July, serving the community. They have all the standard things you have at the grocery store, just in a small market. They've got a flip around here. They've got fruits and vegetables, and they've got the frozen sections. They even have a deli back there, and they serve this community. It's a bit of a food desert, an area where people don't have too many options for food. But they also serve a lot of SNAP recipients, and I'm joined by Jasmine Crow Houston. She is with Gooder. She's CEO of Gooder. And first of all, tell me about the need that this market here serves.
Yeah, I think this is a historic food desert. Before we started here in July, an average person would have about a 36-minute walk to a local store. Now we are within walking distance to over 1,500 seniors who can walk here. Lots of families that live in the area come and depend on our store for their groceries, fresh produce. So we serve a really big need here.
And you guys just got approved for SNAP benefits. So talk to me about the need that you guys are seeing.
We got approved for SNAP benefits literally September 29th, so like 2 days before the government shut down. So October was our first month of actually having SNAP. So many more of our customers started to use it. We just didn't know before then. So I'm actually really worried, because I know it's going to definitely affect our business, but more so, I'm just worried about how all these people are going to eat that use it every day.
And what are they saying to you? What are you hearing from them?
Lots of worry. We've had seniors coming in here since Saturday just asking, like, what's going to happen? How is this going to work? How am I going to eat? So I just think lots of worry and just lots of uncertainty. I think there's a lot of rumors it's going to happen. A federal judge ordered it, but then they're not seeing anything actually happen. So I think they're asking a lot of questions of us that we don't know the answers to either.
But you are organizing a community fund. Tell me about that community fund and how people can help.
Yes, we launched the Gooder Community Fund. We're asking for $10 donations that will go to provide a meal bag to feed a family of 4. And we're just looking for people to donate. They can also bring items to our store. We're open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. So we're asking for perishables as well as non-perishables, but just things that are in good condition. We're really all about dignity. This isn't the time to clean out your freezer and give us all the old things. We really just need good items to get to families so that we can help them weather the storm.
And you'll deliver to some of these people too that have a hard time coming out.
Yep, we'll be delivering to seniors. Anyone that is in need can also visit our website, gooder.co/Gooder Foundation. There you can request food as well as donate.
Absolutely. That's Jasmine Crow Houston with Gooder. And so you can again go to that website and go to Gooder's website, and you can donate money. It's they provide meals for a family of 4 in this in this time where things are a little bit uncertain, and also they will deliver to some people that especially seniors that may not be able to get out.
Yeah, and that's been one of the critical demographics, if you will, to get food to our seniors, Chris. We've been hearing it on our YouTube channel, people talking about the elderly, and I mean, some can't even go out to get the food, much less receive it. So appreciate that at Gooder on Edgewood Avenue, where the heroic work is underway to get people the food they need during this time of crisis or uncertainty, however you want to frame it. Chris, thanks. That is going to do it for us on this Monday afternoon here on Fox Local. So glad you joined us today. We always manage to cram a lot of stuff into a short hour, most of it live and happening right now. And as that happens, love to just turn it around and bring it to you. I'm Tom Haines here live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Meantime, the news continues right here, right now.